has always been a liar. He's always been a criminal. He's always been a bully. But somehow in the New York area, you sort of get away with it sometimes. And they call it, that special Queen's machismo or something that Trumpy had,
Well, there are public hearings today, Mark.
I know, yes. They
to impeach Trump.
They didn't go well for Trump.
Sondland, he just said that Trump is guilty. Well, he said that Trump gave instructions to Sondland to extortion Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. And all these people implicated Mark Pompeo, Sondland, all these big shots. Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York, is implicated in this scandal.
Today, Ambassador Sondland to the EU, who's this guy who contributed $1 million to the Trump inauguration party. This guy got to be ambassador to the EU, and he says that he doesn't ever remember the president saying that military aid was not conditional on showing some kind of hearings, demonstration of hearings or propaganda that said that the Bidens had somehow done something corrupt and that actually Ukraine was the attacker of the 2016 US election and not Russia. It's proven because of the CrowdStrike computer that was stashed somewhere secretly in Ukraine.
Well, he's saying that he just followed instructions of Trump. He was orchestrating all this plot to extort President of Ukraine, Zelensky, and Giuliani was. He was saying that Giuliani is pretty annoying, right?
Well, he's annoying, but he was probably doing what Trump wanted him to do. And both Trump and Giuliani are kind of incompetent. They need like followers around them or nothing happens. And if they cooperate with each other to try making something happen, it can really fuck up. I mean, it can really duck up, is what I meant to say.
Yes. Well, Giuliani is a clown. Trump is a clown.
I always thought of Trump as the P.T. Barnum of U.S. politics, but now he's like the P.T.S. Barnum of trying to be an Adolf Hitler, I think. And it kind of doesn't get very funny after a while.
Trump?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the danger is that Trump will be a dictator. That's the great danger. Absolutely. Because Trump is defying the authority of the Constitution, defying the authority of the Congress to investigate or to know what's happening ultimately in the other branches of government. Of course, it's a tremendous threat to freedom in the United States.
What is very alarming, Mark, is the fact that the Republicans are their accomplices.
It's true. It's frightening that most Republicans
they don't accept the fact that Trump is a criminal.
Some do, I think. But
well, the guys they are on the hearings. Jordan and this other clown Nunez, they are defending Trump, man.
I know, absolutely.
It's like
no, it's like they're. To me, it sounds like they're Nazis who know what the truth is, but then they get together and they say, "Oh, the truth isn't the truth. The truth is party truth. Heil Hitler." Is really what we got going on.
That's the most alarming thing to me.
Me too, right?
I mean, because Trump is a clown, criminal, inept, incompetent.
Always was, but as a criminal, he's
But
much more competent.
who's behind him?
I think he's a competent criminal.
This,
I think he's a competent liar on the level of money laundering. Oh, I'm just schmoozy Joe, you know, I'm the person everyone likes because I'm so informal. No, he's the informal criminal. That's all he really knows.
I mean that's the most alarming thing, like Republicans supporting this criminal.
Absolutely. It's already frightening, but this is the moment to be active. I saw a hillbilly guy on the internet, and he was clearly in his like bear hunting garage or something. And on one side of him, he had like a Pilsner beer advertisement. On the other side, you could see there was like this dead bear that was like mounted on the wall. And he was saying, you know, when stuff like this happens, I tell my neighbors, we got to stand up for freedom because this is what a dictatorship is. I thought, oh yeah, I thought this guy was like right wing, and he turned out to be. No, he knows what's happening. I think the polls are already shifting. I think the polls will shift even more as every day, even on Fox, they're playing this. I thought for sure, to myself, I said, if Fox plays these things,
Mark, I wish that the Latino community is informed about these hearings, but
you don't think they are?
No, Univision and Telemundo, the biggest
they're not playing
cable companies in the United States, they are not showing the
they
hearings
should
live.
Well, I think
This
even Fox is
even Fox is showing the hearings.
They are showing them. I think, Trump would say, "Oh, Fox, please don't show it," because it's to the disadvantage of the Republicans
so
and the president.
I'm very alarmed about that. The Latino community doesn't know. That's why me gustaría decirlo en español. I would like to say in Spanish, Mark, what's going on there.
Okay.
Yep. Trump se encuentra un proceso de destitución Trump y hay audiencias públicas para destituirlo. Hoy se presentó Sondland, el embajador de la Unión Europea, declarando que él actuó bajo las órdenes de Trump, y son declaraciones muy serias que probablemente significan que Trump sea destituido, pero los republicanos representantes, Jordan, Núñez, entre otros, lo están defendiendo. That's what I want to inform the Latino community, because I'm pretty sure on the news in Spanish there are, but they should be live in Spanish for the Latino community to understand what's going on. This is historic, Mark.
Yes, it certainly is. It certainly is.
I mean, I wish Trump is impeached and removed from office. Those are my wishes, And Sondland, well, I find the statements of Sondland very incriminating Trump, Mark, against Trump. I don't know you.
Well, I would say whether you need me or not is that I would say that Sondland has decided that he does not want to completely sink with the Trump ship. If Trump has set him up to be the person who gets blamed, then I think he's trying to find a way out of that. But I think he knows more than he's saying. He's changed his story now 3 times.
No, like he say that Giuliani, Pompeo, what is the other guy who's hiding too? Mulvaney?
Mulvaney. Mulvaney is the chief of staff in the White House.
The chief of staff of the White House.
But he's also the Office of Management and Budget Director.
Rudy Giuliani, you're pulling your microphone, Mark.
Whoops.
Rudy Giuliani, Sondland, Mark Pompeo. Mark Pompeo is the Secretary of
State.
I mean, these are big shots implicated in this criminal conspiracy, Mark. It's
Yeah.
very, very, very alarming what's going on, but more alarming is the Republicans defending this criminal.
I think that my take on this, Pablo, is that the stakes are as high as the Republicans are ready to be fascists. And the president, who Republicans still largely support, of course, has said things like, we need
Order.
treason trials and we need to execute Schiff, because he's got a committee, and why don't we execute, this person or that person who, why don't we execute the whistleblower? What is going on? And that's tolerated on that side of politics. So that shows you how dangerous American politics have become. U.S. has become extremely politically unstable. I think that anyone who's on the side of impeaching Trump at all should really get on that side and make sure that we have a tidal wave of support for impeachment itself, because the president, if he survives his impeachment thing, he's going to lash out, because he's already operating outside of the Constitution. As soon as he's allowed to go any further, he will go further. He will try to use the military. He will try to do all the things that dictators do. I'm convinced of it, totally. The president, he's a smart criminal, but he's not a good leader of a country. He's a criminal, but he's not a person who has a vision for the future,
Well, all he wants is power to benefit himself and his family.
Well,
and friends.
exactly. But he might like people like Putin or Hitler. Okay, his first wife, what was her name? Ivana Trump. She's this Czech Olympic, shoot the rifle and then ski to the finish line kind of athlete in, the Olympics or whatever. He marries her. She's some kind of agent. She introduces him to the Kremlin. And then eventually they get divorced. They can't get along. It's not going well.
No, he just found a younger woman, no?
Well, maybe. But anyway, during the divorce, she says, oh, he's such a crazy guy. He sleeps with Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf, big diatribe, about 1,000 pages long, in paperback under his pillow. And you go, oh, well,
I mean,
That makes perfect sense to me. I think this is a person who would like to be Adolf Hitler. He would like to be. He's not as well read. He's not, in a way, as smart. Not that Hitler was crazy smart, but.
Hitler wasn't that stupid.
Well, he read a lot. How give Hitler that?
He was a good speaker and a smart guy, man.
Well, smarter than Trump.
Trump
but
is,
even though Trump
is
isn't,
just a clown.
Trump is not smart, but he is evil, but he's not even smart, and yet he has a big following of people who want an evil leader. That is scary. That should scare all of us, really. We need to really be aware that our American Republic is in a great deal of danger right now because we have someone who doesn't give a damn about it. He doesn't give what do they call it these days? SH, expletive something or other. He doesn't give a shit about it. No. That's what he would say. Why would I do that?
Well, that's a scary, Mark, and he put children in cages.
He did that too.
And there, like right now, there are concentration camps.
Trump is making.
It's putting immigrants in those concentration camps.
Trump is making a bet that he can get people who are racist and who like war crimes, because he pardoned war criminals, who like people being cruel to other people because they're different, make people conform. he's making a bet that will win him re-election. This guy's really willing to make that his political bet. It tells you what a dangerous situation we're in and what an extremely awful person the President of the United States is.
And this morning I saw a report on CBS, I think, about racists trying to indoctrinate children about these racist ideas about, this fantasy of the master race and all these lies that Hitler support and promote, like Trump, I mean, look at the master. I mean, you think that Trump is the master race? I mean, the guy is fat and ugly, and bald, and like.
Well, maybe that happens when you're in your 70s. But I take your point. No, it's an absurd notion. But I do think Trump is getting away with flirting with those sorts of groups. At the same time, that he's friends with these Nazi groups. Paradoxically, he's friends with all these Nazi-like Jewish groups who want to, take away all the rights of the Palestinians and never allow them to have their own country or nationality. So,
well, what is that? Miller is one of the assessors of Trump. He's a Jewish guy, man.
Oh, Miller.
Miller.
Yes, but Miller has supposedly he's had hundreds of thousands of emails back and forth supporting and trying to grow the movement for Aryan racist identification movement or something,
I mean, I don't understand, you have
white supremacists.
All these Nazis supporting a Jewish guy, and a Jewish guy who promotes.
But he's a very white Jewish guy.
Racial hatred and.
He's super pale. He looks like.
Well, he
as
looks
white as this sheet of paper.
He looks like.
I don't want to pick on the
Goebbels,
guy,
no?
Oh, Goebbels. No, he's much paler than Goebbels, but he
But
looks.
I mean the same.
He looks just. He
the
looks
same
just
face.
as unhealthy as Goebbels.
I mean,
Yeah.
they probably use heroin,
Oh, I don't know about that.
I mean,
Anyway,
because
I think they use diluted master race, toxic injection.
these guys are the master race. I mean, give me a break, please, man. I mean, Miller, Trump, Giuliani. These are like. These are monsters, man.
Kellyanne Conway.
What is the
Pompeo,
300 pounds.
Oh, what was that guy?
Bannon.
What was his press secretary?
Sarah Huckabee.
Sarah Huckabee. Sarah Huckabee. God, I would look at her and I would say, everything looks out of balance. But no, she has a somewhat off balance face. But the fact that she was off balance to begin with, really struck me as whoa, what is going on? I would look at her and I would think, whoa, what is happening? And I didn't know what it was. And I knew, okay, she has a somewhat off balance face, but everything she was saying was a lie too.
Yeah, it's not their appearance, it's their ideas.
No, I mean, of course.
Their ideas are crooked. Their ideas are crooked.
They were both symbolized to me, is all I'm saying.
Nasty.
No,
nasty ideas, no?
I would never notice that unless she was a crooked person behind, her own crooked visage.
She's not only ugly, she's evil,
That's what I mean.
That's
not only, but
that's the worst part of her,
Well,
it's
and
not her physical appearance. They are.
And of the president
monsters,
himself, the president, he's like a 300-pound
Trump
baby.
Trump is
who's willing to destroy the United States for his own ego. He's willing to collapse our constitutional system for his own ego. Can you imagine that? A president of the United States would risk the stability, political the hundreds of year old stability of the United States constitutionally for his own BS ego. Can you imagine that? It's hard for me to imagine, but that's exactly what we're facing at exactly this moment. And I think, just like that hillbilly said, the hillbilly played a couple times people saying, lock him up, lock him up. And I thought he was going to say, oh, they're socialists. Instead, he said, you know, I think we need to lock them up, and I think we need socialism in this country. And the guy in his garage, you know, with the
I don't know that. I don't know that guy, Mark.
well, he's there. I mean, I'm not being like Trump, where I just make up a guy. I actually saw this guy on the internet. Trump would say, oh, thousands of Arabs jumped up and down in celebration as the towers came down, you know.
I mean, and the guy just lies, he's on TV saying, oh, everything goes beautiful.
Perfect.
Perfect. And
the Kurds, they're no angels. You know, and Italy, you know, thank you very much, President Mozzarella, for your country's alliance with the U.S. going all the way back to the Roman Empire. And then, where would we be without you, you know, on the beaches of Normandy, you know, on D-Day? It's absurd. Absurdity. The absurdity is it's frightening, though. It's very frightening. Very frightening.
Yesterday, I was watching these videos on Facebook about the war in the Middle East, Mark.
Yes. Oh, the most recent one where Israelis...
Really heartbreaking video. I mean,
Israeli attacks against...
Little boys. I mean, you can see just the bomb is dropping and just blowing away children and
really
maiming them and horrific.
Have photos emerged of that?
A video of.
Oh, a video. That is
the children
truly horrible.
Walking on the street, and then a bomb just hits the streets, and these guys just blow on the street.
In Syria, or the attacks?
I think it's Syria.
In Syria, these were.
I was just thinking
those were Israeli attacks.
How is possible that society glorifies war? I mean, you know, these people with guns, and I remember last summer watching this guy walking right here on Bridge Street. Well, this is the building is on Bridge Street, right? Lincoln Park, going that way. A guy walking with a gun on his.
I've seen that in
I mean,
Walmarts and Myers before.
I mean,
we're an open carry state. You can carry your machine gun on your back if you want to.
I mean, the guy walking with a gun on his right here. On his
Right. I know, it's scary. It's a scary thing.
And I'm I mean, what kind of people promotes this is violence, you know?
Yeah, I think
this is.
I think that's why the President of the United States, you know, he's willing to up the violence level in the psyche of society, in the mind of society. He's willing to say, war crimes are okay. If you get really mad in war, oh, you're mad, you hate the enemy. And then if you kill people who are prisoners of war, just come up to them and go, I hate you, and they kill you, it's okay. Because, oh, he's been through a lot, he's been in the war, he's been hating these people and fighting these people, he's a super warrior, let's give him a break, you know.
Yeah, you know,
Trump was pardoning war criminals of that sort.
I find entertaining these war movies, but when I saw this video, I just thought man, war is just horrific, man.
What, the movie Fury or something?
No, the movies about World War II, documentaries.
Documentaries.
You know, I like to watch.
Oh yeah, it was horrific.
These documentaries. But when you see these kind of videos, I saw in Facebook this video, the children blowing up with bombs, you know.
Of course.
I mean, little children like this, like blowing, a bomb hits the street, and
Well-
a group of children, they just blow, man. Like,
There were places where, after bombs had fallen, armies would move through and they'd like capture new areas that were in the enemy hands, and they would say, "What are all these little balls? These little white balls." Turned out they were the skulls of children, because children were all in schools. The schools ended up getting destroyed, and they were destroyed inside of them, and their skulls just ended up being these
street.
little balls inside of gullies and things nearby.
I know. I mean, like, war is something horrific, man. I mean, when you see you had to see these videos to understand what I mean. Like, I mean, stop promoting war and promoting the use of guns, and like, there was just 2 shootings on.
But that's so
on
something.
Monday, you know?
Okay, something happened to the Republican Party. It went so nuts that it became extremely dangerous. And it promotes all the worst things that we can imagine in humanity, like the wish to kill, to be aggressive, to have a dictator. All these things mean that you had better vote out there. If you're watching this show and find this show at all interesting, you'd better vote against the Republicans in every way you can possibly do, because we're in danger of having a dictatorship, Pablo. I know I've told you this before. I don't know if I said it on the show before, but the danger is extreme. We are in extreme danger of dictatorship. You've got a guy who defies the power of the Congress, so he's in violation of the Constitution.
Mark, but
they're
you
just trying to get rid of this guy.
You
But
have
if
to
they don't get rid of
explain.
him, then he's a dictator. He's like a Caesar or a Napoleon, except that he doesn't have their talents for socially meaningful activity, But he'll have that power.
Mark,
and he'll destroy.
But
this
you had
country.
to understand that.
Yes.
You have to understand that this is the result of the American way of life is being destroyed.
Through the violation of the social contract, perhaps?
I mean,
I think that's true.
There are no jobs anymore that, like 40 years ago, where
yeah.
people were making $20 per hour, and
absolutely.
they were able to send their children to college.
Right. That's the social contract. The social contract was that things were in balance. The people were actually in charge. The wealthy were quite a bit wealthier than other people, but even their wealth and their industries and their economic activity benefited society. That was the Roosevelt world of capitalism of the Democratic Party.
So
and the
this is-
Republicans under Reagan started this whole let's be cruel, let's be mean, let's let the wealthy make as much money as possible any way they can, even by exporting the economy to China. And now we're dealt with actually the backlash against the Republican thing. And so far, the Republicans are using that backlash monster themselves, and the Democrats instead aren't touching it at all. I think the U.S. does need to do things that the Trump administration says it wants to do. The U.S. needs to insulate its economy more from the third world. The U.S. needs to, I think it needs to do that in order to restore the social contract among people. It needs to pay people more. It needs to become more socialist than it is.
Increase wages,
Absolutely, all those things.
Increase wages.
It must do those things.
I mean, like, solar energy.
And even then,
increase
it will
solar
only be
energy.
in line with like what Europe or Japan are right now. And I think that's a better model than becoming like, Putin's Russia or becoming China itself.
So this is the reason why all these people is angry. That's why people is voting for Trump, because their way of lives are being destroyed. You know,
Yes.
people is in
Yes.
poverty.
Absolutely. You know, Pablo, absolutely.
And instead of understanding that Trump is responsible and the Republicans are responsible, they're trying to blame immigrants,
Yes. Yes.
minorities, blacks,
and
Asians,
people who don't want to
gays.
hate,
You know?
and that kind of thing. Yes. Absolutely.
This is not something that just happened yesterday, and this has been from the 80s when
Yes.
Ronald
Ronald
Reagan
Reagan.
started
It
destroying
started,
the American way
yeah,
of life.
Ronald Reagan. The whole Reagan Revolution has now become so extreme that it's willing to do what it's doing right now. Under Trump, because of his own personality,
Saludos a
is-
José Castillo.
he's so racist, he's willing to be so outrageous that he really represents the cutting edge of the possibility of right-wing racist dictatorship in the United States. You know, among all of these, very, very reactionary, backward forces in the United States. Yeah, he's embraced all of them.
So, like, I was watching this sappy movie from Hallmark about you know, the Sound of the Music. Those guys.
The Sound of Music, The Hills Are Alive, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
That-
Well, the message is important in this movie because they just recreate the society in those days. I mean,
The Sound
same-
of Music? What?
Yeah, the same story. Like there were no jobs.
Oh.
The economy collapsed.
What? It's like a.
And then this demagogue,
Oh,
Hitler,
oh.
came to power.
Yes.
And promised jobs and promised wealth.
It's a documentary talking about the.
No, it's a sappy movie, but
a sappy movie that's like a parallel to The Sound of Music.
but it's very, very. It's interesting.
Not a musical and
No musical.
interesting.
They sing like once, I think.
It is a musical.
No.
Someone sings something. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, like the same story. Like, you know, there are no jobs.
Right.
Like what's happening right now. The jobs are they pay so little that you can barely pay the rent with the money that you make in McDonald's or Burger King or Walmart or whatever. And then this demagogue, Hitler, comes to power and promises jobs. But
The Austrians.
this is Trump.
The
right?
Austrians were another country, and yet as soon as
They were
Hitler.
they were affected by this
They
demagogue.
they were affected by the demagogue.
And he promises jobs, but there are no jobs. He creates war, right?
Well, first he creates jobs, but a lot
So
of the jobs he
and
creates are
this
because
is the same. We have a war in Syria.
he's preparing for war.
We
as
have
well.
a war in Syria. We have a war in Iraq. We have a war in Afghanistan. This is not only. This is the past recreated again, reproduced.
Well, we've had these wars going on for almost 20 years now. And,
So on
18
top
years,
on
yeah.
top of this economic crisis,
17
we
and a
have
half
3
years.
wars going on.
yeah, you know, according to the media, the major media in the United States, we're in a boom time still. They'll acknowledge that,
The boom time for the millionaires, for the billionaires. Man.
especially for them, and less
But,
so
but
as you.
people, there are jobs, but if you make $10 per hour, and you have to pay $800 per month or $1,000 per month, I mean, what are you going to do with $10 per hour?
Well, exactly. And see, this comes back around to Trump and his support. He gets a lot of support from the people who are doing white people who are doing methamphetamine, and who feel like.
So this is the reason why people vote for Trump.
Why is there not a
Yeah.
factory down the street anymore? Why can't we get jobs anymore? And these are white people. And then Trump says it's because of
Immigrants.
Mexicans. You know, it's
Immigrants
because
are
of
stealing
immigrants
their
in
jobs.
general. he's done that. And they say, yeah. But actually, it's also because, I mean, mostly because capital leaks away from the United States because the United States even promotes the transfer of wealthy money to cheap labor markets around the world. Even the government promotes that. Even under Trump, they still promote that.
I mean, like everything is manufactured in China, so that's why there are no jobs here, right?
Yes. I mean,
Everything is made of plastic.
there are jobs, but our jobs tend to go down in scale. I mean, many, many people in the U.S. have now grown up in 2 generations or more where they have not achieved the level that their parents achieved. And we're truly into the point where the young people from at least, the 2nd generation of that are finding that to be true. And it makes them more and more radical. They're more and more willing to accept Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. And they seem to
So
be...
let's vote for Bernie, Mark.
So far, I'm still willing to vote for Bernie, but I worry about Bernie's heart, kind of, I think.
But he's doing great, Mark. I mean, everyone is embracing his ideas. I mean, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie, of course, his ideas. Even Biden is talking about enhance the Obamacare,
Oh,
And-
good.
And because Bernie ideas are so strong that everyone is embracing the ideas. That young people don't think that socialism is a bad word or a bad
No,
concept.
that's the amazing thing.
That's surprising to me.
To me too, and I did want to talk about that. I mean, not only does the president criminal fossil need to be shuffled off or ground off the stage as soon as possible, but socialism does seem to be a possibility, at least of the sort that the Europeans have here in the United States. I see no problem with it. That's essentially the direction of our society that we had from the early mid-1930s until Ronald Reagan. We were in the direction of being we were sort of socialist, but of course we had capitalism. And the Europeans went that same way, and then the U.S. under Reagan went way over to the other side.
They destroy all the social.
They were beginning to end the
benefits,
social welfare state. Yes, the thing that makes capitalism less cruel began to be, over time, I think, that they developed a philosophy that capitalism, again, should be as cruel as possible because that's part of how capitalism works. They were thinking in terms of a kind of pure capitalism, and what is its pure power is the cruelty of what it can inflict upon society.
I mean, they're gonna.
as well as what the benefit it can give to particular owners and things. But
They're
yeah,
gonna close a clinic
it's a
here
cruel thing at its
here
worst.
in downtown Hearthside Clinic.
What's that?
They're gonna close Hearthside Clinic here in.
And why is that? It's becoming a wealthy area.
It's because there is no funding.
You know what?
But
It's
you're right. The thing
it's
is
becoming a wealthy area.
They
is
don't
what it
want to
is.
see. They don't want to see homeless around.
No, they don't want to see homeless there. It's all about making money around there. A lot of Grand Rapids is now just all about making money.
So it's not the.
It's
probably
the same all
there is
over the
no
country.
really funding. The problem is that they don't want to see
So
homeless.
something is wrong in society when a person like me, I'm educated, I'm not super wealthy, that's for sure. I do this show, I've done some, I've done some teaching and stuff, but I'm not wealthy. And Grand Rapids in recent years has become you can tell that the less than upper middle class people are being forced out pretty fast. It's really happening.
You know, it's not that Republicans are ending poverty. They are kicking out all the poor people from Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean
And even just the
Grand
ordinary,
Rapids is becoming wealthy.
just middle class people.
Is
You know?
they are kicking out everyone who's poor,
Yeah.
increasing rents, and I don't know where they're gonna go. You know, they're increasing the rents, improving a little bit the houses. They fix it a little bit, and then if they were charging $600, now they are charging $1,000.
It's the terrible logic of the economic system placed above the needs of society and people and sustainability of social stability without violence, I think, is what we're seeing.
So all these people that we see on the streets is mostly mentally ill people, and they're on the street because they can have a job. They don't have a place to stay, so they stay on the shelter.
And guess who doesn't, give even a little bit of BS about all that? It's the President of the United States, Donald Trump.
And then we have this clown that...
Who must be impeached because Trump is destroying the alliance system of the United States. Trump is giving over areas of disputed land that could have helped to protect our allies, the Turks, to the Russians and the Turks, and abandoning U.S. bases because, among other things, I think ultimately you have to say that it really looks like, for everything he does, that Trump is some kind of Soviet, he's a Russian agent. This guy is actually controlled by the Russians, and he loves the Russians. He even marries Russian-like women all the time, people who are ethnically kind of in that direction. This is what attracts him. He's a Russianophile, and he's totally controlled. I really have very little doubt that this is the overall goal that the President of the United States has.
Well,
and the sanctions on Russia.
And his
and the sanctions on Russia.
His friend was this guy, the guy who just died in prison. What is his name?
Okay, so yes, it looks like the President of the United States is also a pedophile. Yeah, a raping pedophile. This 13-year-old Epstein. He was a great friend of Epstein.
Epstein was
for a decade. This guy
was a guy who was
partied with this guy Epstein, and at one of these parties, a 13-year-old girl claimed that they were all brought in as they thought they were going to be like Miss June or something in a kind of cute calendar thing where they'd maybe be wearing, slightly skimpy garb. Turned out, you get raped by the future President of the United States and his friend while everyone else is barred from the party. 28 girls plus Donald Trump and this other Epstein person, yeah.
Epstein.
And
then...
this is the external female genitalia grabbing President of the United States we're talking about here. And you know what I say to Republicans who support a person like that? I say FY! I say FY! I say lock him up! Can we get a rousing cheer of lock him up here? Okay. Lock him up! Lock him up! Lock him up! I agree with the hillbilly.
But
we gotta lock him up. We gotta make noise about this.
I hope that he goes to jail.
We're going to lose the United States if he doesn't go to jail.
He's removed, he's impeached, he's removed, and hopefully he goes to jail.
No, we will lose the United States if he doesn't go to jail. I'm pretty convinced if we don't get him out, he's going to defy being pulled out, and then he's going to attempt some kind of violent civil war. I still think he very well could lose such a thing, but we're still moving in that direction. He puts out tentacles of let's be violent if they try to get me out of power. Wrap up in Spanish?
Well, yes.
Early wrap up, mid wrap up. What would you say
Bueno,
in Spanish?
estábamos aquí hablando con Mark Zapetowski sobre el proceso de destitución de Trump. La cámara no estaba funcionando, entonces voy a hacer un breve resumen de lo que estábamos hablando. Probablemente Trump sea destituido, probablemente no, pero ojalá sea destituido y vaya a la cárcel por los crímenes que está cometiendo. Muy lamentable que Univisión y Telemundo no están transmitiendo las audiencias del proceso de destitución de Trump. Pero pues bueno, hacemos nuestros esfuerzos para pues darles un breve resumen de lo que está pasando. Hoy se presentó a declarar Sondland, el embajador de la Unión Europea, frente a los congresistas demócratas y republicanos. Los demócratas están buscando destituir a Trump y se presentó Sondland con unas declaraciones escandalosas en donde dice que Trump es el que dio las instrucciones para cometer la extorsión en contra de el presidente de Ucrania en julio. Bueno, es un breve resumen de lo que pasó hoy. Ojalá y haya más declaraciones tan escandalosas como las que hizo hoy el embajador de la Unión Europea ahí en el Capitolio durante las audiencias públicas de proceso de destitución. Ojalá y continúen, mañana me parece que continúan las audiencias, pero hasta el momento las declaraciones de Sondland fueron escandalosas. Ojalá que esa sea la evidencia suficiente para destituirlo. That was my brief information about what's going on.
Yeah.
Because the Latinos, there is no Univision, Telemundo, there are no
Coverages of this?
covering the hearings, the public hearings.
Huh.
It's very, very disappointing.
Well, I am surprised and hopeful by the fact that Fox is carrying the hearings. I think that's very
Even Fox is
beneficial.
Showing the hearings on TV.
Yes, even Fox. I think that it is to the detriment of the president and the Republicans that it's being shown on Fox. Polls have shifted somewhat, and 30% of the people, 30% of the
39%, Mark. They
Okay.
want Trump out.
30%.
They want to impeach Trump.
30% of the population who wants to, 30% of the population says it's open to changing its mind about Trump. So those have really got to be the Trump supporters and the independents, is what we're talking about there. And that would really do it. I think the longer it goes on, if the Democrats are smart enough to continue the hearings and not be in a hurry, they'll do damage, and 5, 10, 15 points of damage to the president's popularity rating, his approval rating, will really be a severe impact.
I think
he already has as much as a 75% disapproval over this particular incident. Doesn't mean they want him impeached overall in the whole country, but 75% of the whole country thinks that what he did was wrong. They could be further.
They want him impeached.
No, they don't. Though 75% think it was wrong, but not nearly all of them think that he should be impeached. About 25% get peeled off into people who don't know what they think exactly about if he should be impeached or not, or people who think he shouldn't be impeached. But basically, that whole group of people are still saying they're open to, according to polls, still open to having their minds changed. So that's very hopeful. So as long as the Democrats remain aggressive, as long as we remember to say FY Trump, at protests and things, we we are doing a good thing, I think, because the pressure has to be kept up. It has to be put in people's consciousness. This is not polite society. You have a guy who's basically a kind of criminal. He was always a criminal. Trump was a criminal his entire life. He grew up a criminal. His dad was a kind of real estate criminal. They swindle people out of their lease agreements. They swindle the people that build their buildings. They don't pay people what is owed them. And somehow, by bullying and being mean and nasty, you've got two generations of a family that have gotten away with it. And the current generation is this old fat guy, Donald Trump, who's half, crazy and is convinced that he's some kind of super genius, but he's really just a kind of criminal who never got caught. And he thinks that makes him a genius. But he says stuff like, oh, Washington had to secure the airports from British counterattack, back during the Revolutionary War. Of course, absurd. There were no airports, Of course, we weren't allies with the Roman Empire. It doesn't go back that far.
I know. Well, I hope that Trump is impeached.
Me too.
I hope there is more scandalous statement like today from Sondland. Mm-hmm. I guess tomorrow Sondland returns to the hearings.
Does he?
I don't know who's coming.
Sondland was damaging to the president. He was quite damaging.
He said he just followed instructions from Trump.
The colonel was damaging. The original ambassador to Ukraine, who was forced out because she was too honest, and they were going to do bad things.
Ivanovich.
Janovich, right. I had mispronounced her as Yanovich before, but no, Janovich.
And I hope that's enough evidence to impeach Trump.
Oh, me too.
And we should talk to people to vote for Bernie Sanders.
I think so.
Bernie Sanders, 2020.
I'm actually, I have to admit that I'm personally torn because I do think that Bernie Sanders having a heart attack maybe means that he's not the best person to try to. I think
but he's fine.
He's fine.
He looks good.
He's a good candidate.
His ideas are strong. A lot of young people like him.
Well, maybe if Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders could get together, and then when Bernie dies, then
she became the president.
Then she can become the president, right?
Oh, that would be great. Well, no,
they could combine their forces against.
But if something happens to Bernie,
against the milquetoast Biden, who's not. Biden is not left-wing enough. We need something more left-wing than that, in order to make some progress in society, I think.
Well, we almost the end of the show, Mark. What else should we say to the people? Vote for Bernie.
No.
Bernie.
No.
Bernie.
So my show, I'm going to ask you, Pablo, what is your hope for the future of the United States? What would you like to see the U.S. become that it looks like we're not becoming right now? How would we? Anyway, what should we be rather than what we are?
Well, I would like to see people creating jobs. Solar energy, we can create jobs. The wind, the sun.
Yeah, that'd be great.
New technologies. I don't know, manufacturing. If we can bring some manufacturing here, that would be great. Like to build the cell phones, the computers here in the United States, that would create a lot of jobs for people here. I don't know, maybe somebody's coming with new technology and the United States can create more technology like always, and more wealth, more equality. Well, there is wealth, Mark. It's just a few people have all this wealth. And they don't want to share. They don't want to pay. They don't want to pay fair wages.
They don't want to I mean, they don't want to pay fair wages to workers, and they don't want to pay fair taxes.
They don't want to pay taxes for the wealth. They don't want to be taxed.
Bernie and Elizabeth Warren are trying to see that they pay fair share of taxes. You know, up until the very early, well, up until essentially the late 60s, early 70s, the wealth that the wealthiest people had was mostly given over to society as a whole. And now they've been able to keep basically their wealth rather than let it go away in taxation. And you could say that as well as driving investment into overseas labor markets has done a great deal to impoverish most people.
Yeah, I would like to see people getting better, getting paid better, and more jobs, more education.
And we want to see that Trump is taken out of the office, at least by losing the election, and then perhaps arrested and tried for his various
people
crimes.
stop blaming immigrants for all these disasters in the economy, in
Yeah.
society, you know.
Yeah. So, Frank, are we over?
Bueno, ya nos vamos. Buenas noches a todos.
Okay, we survived.
Terminamos nuestro programa.